Hello guys, how's it going? It is time for Noah Asked once again this week, and I am glad you guys are here to join us. I am here with the lovely, the glorious, my friend, the Joey.
Oh, fuck. It was like
Thanks for holding that in for me.
No, well, I was trying to hold it in throughout, but then it was like, because I did that
Whoa.
burp cough thing in the beginning, and it like hurt my heart. I'm like, am I dying on camera? Is this it for me? Is the 21 subscribers is a peak I'll ever get?
So
yeah,
sad.
thanks for such a lovely intro, and I'm sorry that I ruined your show with my vulgarity.
Yep, show's over. It's done.
All right, my bad.
Never coming back.
Well, what do we do on this show?
We answer questions and create themes out of our ass. So,
Who's asked? I'm sorry,
mine.
it's yours.
Just mine. Yeah, you don't want blame for this one.
No.
So this week, it is going to be Noah Asked about challenges and just like the concept of it all, which
Like-
is usually what it always is.
Like the YouTube challenges, like the chubby bunny challenge, and the
Not
the
exactly.
cinnamon, the cinnamon,
cinnamon.
the cinnamon challenge,
The ice bucket.
ASL. I almost said ASMR. The ASMR ice bucket challenge. You ever just
this slow drip of water coming
Yeah.
down onto you?
yeah? All right.
Oof.
But what kind of challenges are you talking about, Noah?
I'm just talking like the general challenges coming for you. So just like the things that are bearing down on you in life and just these oddball things that are coming at you.
Okay.
So I will just start off by asking, do you enjoy overcoming challenges, or do you prefer things to kind of be easy from the get-go?
See, I've always been more of a challenge kind of guy. Like,
Yeah.
I like a good challenge. I like it when I look at something, I'm like, I don't know if I can do that, but I know I'm going to try.
Yeah.
And so that's always been kind of fun. And I think, especially in my field of work where it's like so competitive, you have to have that mindset. Sorry, I'm like, my mouth is full of Red Bull now. But like, no, I think when you're growing up, you kind of want things to be easier, but then the more you mature, the more you kind of realize that things, when they're more challenging, are more rewarding in the end.
Yeah, I'm one of those people who like is kind of afraid of failure.
Uh-huh.
So like sometimes I love a good challenge, but if it means I'm just gonna fail and like not redeem myself, it's kind of a scary, like it's like one of those things where it's like going in beforehand, I'm like, is there a good chance I'm gonna fail? Because if so, I might not like this challenge.
So how do you judge that? Like, other than like, oh, like at what point, like what percentage, I guess, like what risk do you take? Like how much skin in the game?
Oh, if it's like definitely if it's above like 70% chance failure rate, then I'm probably not
really. Oh, I don't know. See, I think the most I'll go, because I've worked on some shitty projects, so it's like
just with that glimmer of hope at the end.
it's like, okay, like, you know, I know it's bad now, or like even like at the beginning of the project, I was like, yo, 70% this is gonna go bad, but you know, I'll get experience. And then I get into it and I'm like, yo, 89% this is gonna go bad. And then I'm like 3 weeks into this 6-week project, I'm like, yo, 1% this is gonna go good.
Yeah, it's like that when you're driving with like Google Maps or something and like the time keeps changing. It's like your percentage keeps changing as you get closer.
Yeah, just like that. I just keep hurtling closer to death, just at a very fast rate. But no, I really like challenges. I think they're a healthy part of growing up because they force you to grow and innovate, and that's kind of, I'm a very creative person. Everyone likes to think they're creative. I'm actually creative. Thank you.
I host a podcast.
I'm the host
for your information.
I host a podcast. I draw sometimes. I doodle in the margins of my notebooks just so that people looking over my shoulder know that I'm a creative.
I've played a note on a guitar.
I have played multiple notes on a guitar in a row. Not good ones, but they've been there.
Yeah, they were all the same note, but in a row.
Just, you know, playing with that G string.
Hey.
But no, like, innovation is how you improve upon yourself, and I'm all about self-improvement. I think I've said that many times before. You know, that's why I started working out. That's why I started doing YouTube stuff. That's why I started media in general. I was like, well, I can do video games, and I can stream video games. I can edit gameplays, but what more can I do? And so I give myself these challenges, even when it seems like I shouldn't.
Yeah.
So a good example of that is actually Humorish and my previous YouTube channel, where I now just stream, is I would just work all the time. So the first, I'm talking about my first channel here. I worked like 60 or 70 hours a week and went to high school. And I was like, what if I started doing YouTube again?
Yeah.
What if I started recording for 2.5 hours at a time and then taking 8 hours to edit that down to a watchable like 10 minutes or something like that. And it's like, what if I did that every week? And and that's kind of what happened with Humorish too, where I've got a full schedule of 15 hours. You've got a full schedule of 15 hours. And I was like, well, what if instead of one podcast every other week, we did both our podcasts every week, and we did 2 gameplays, and we did a live stream.
Why not a live stream? Yeah, just throw that in there.
And we post the two audios for the podcast, which it's like a half job.
Yeah, and we should really be more active on our Twitter. So
we
should
start
doing that
and
too.
So it's like, what if I made marketing materials for every single thing, and then what if I also it's like, what if I did what if I opened an Instagram?
Don't remind me.
No, so. I'm very much a challenge oriented person. I think I need those challenges as like goals to help me keep going forward, because if I stop pushing forward, I feel like I'm failing. Like, to me, staying stagnant and plateauing isn't like that's just getting by isn't something I want to do. I always want to be improving.
Now, is that a dangerous mindset? Like,
absolutely.
This is like I was about to say, this is gonna go off into a whole different like mental health thing of like, is that like asking for failure? Like, if I have to be growing, then there's no success in that, right?
Yeah, there's no, and I've thought of that before. There's many a night in existential crisis have I spent just staring at the ceiling, just like, oh God, I will never be happy.
Yeah,
and that's not true. I'm happy to be doing this, and like doing these kinds of things does give me joy, which is why I do them. But like, I wouldn't recommend doing what I do. In fact, I will be like every other professor and teacher and any mentor before me and tell you that if you are thinking about going into film, if you were thinking about going into media, don't. Because you won't sleep and you won't eat and you won't get paid for a very long time. Which is something that I think I heard in the beginning, and then the more I heard it, the more I was like, it's fine, it's whatever. And then I started living it, and I was like, it's less fine, but this makes me happy to keep doing this. So I mean, just suck it up and eat more ramen.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Or eat less ramen, because that stuff runs out much faster than you think.
Now with you, a lot of your challenges are like self-given. So is it a different scenario when the challenges are imposed on you without your own free will?
It depends on the challenge.
Fair enough.
Now, if it's based, so most of mine are like based in media, based in physical, like, I don't want to say like physique, but like it, or not even physique. That's not the word I was looking for.
Like
anyways,
tangible goals.
Yeah, it's like. Anyways, I don't want to like stop and pause for 8 hours, but no, like if it's based on those things, most of the time I'm up to the challenge. So for instance, excuse me, I'm doing a Tough Mudder this year, which I've talked about, and there's a possibility that I'm doing 2 of them, which is crazy. And you should, once again, no, you shouldn't do it. But I'm me, and I'm stupid.
I just hate myself a little bit, and it comes out in these weird ways.
Yeah, I mask it under self-improvement, and I'm just like, I'm gonna get ripped by August, So like what got me in the second one. So I originally was gonna do the one in August, which is the hardest one in the United States. And then my mom wanted to do one as well because she's done one in the past. And she's like, oh, when there's one in May, it'll be a little bit warmer. It's in Missouri, so it's a little bit closer. And I was like, okay. I mean, like if my mom's not going to like do the other one with me, I don't see her enough anyways. This is my way to make up for it.
Sorry, Mom.
Yeah, it's just
it'll be near Mother's Day anyways.
Yeah, it's fine. And so I was like, okay, well I can do this other one. So that kind of challenge, yeah, I'm fine with accepting.
Now I know when you like challenge yourself, you like want to get that A+, like do well. But like if your mom can do a Tough Mudder, I would assume that you could do it at least her pace.
Yeah.
So
no, I can absolutely.
You shouldn't have to worry about that part,
No, but I just want to make great time.
Yeah, no, I understand.
I want to do my best, which is another thing that kind of isn't always great, because sometimes me trying to do my best in the process ends up taking away from other things. where it's like, so my freshman year of college, this was a really big deal. I didn't sleep in an effort to do my best on some video projects I was working on for the Salina Symphony and all that kind of, or maybe I shouldn't have called them out. But in an effort to like
they have great videos though.
Yeah, they have great videos now. But no, like in an effort to make those the best I could and keep on top of my grades. And at the time I had a mentor who was like very harsh on me and like was pushing me to be the best that he thought I could be.
Yeah.
Which is great. I mean, his heart
was pushing
in the right
you
place. Yeah,
in his direction.
Exactly. Which he is also the kind of person who doesn't sleep. During this time, I realized that I possibly have what's called a DEC2 mutation, which is a genetic mutation which means your body requires less sleep to function. The way I figured this out was by pushing the limits of that and being like, oh, hey, like after 4 hours of sleep, I actually feel pretty well rested. Like I feel the same after 4 hours of sleep as I do after 6 hours of sleep or after 8 hours of sleep. It's not a big deal. But then I started pushing it further because I was like, oh, if I can do 4 hours of sleep, yeah, maybe I could do 3.
Oh no.
And 3 was like okay. 3 was like what maybe a regular person feels at 6. And I was like, okay, so not the greatest, but still functioning. Like a cup of coffee and I'm good for the day. And then I pushed it even further and I was like, what about 2 hours of sleep? And then I pushed it further and I was like, what about 14 minutes of sleep?
A good nap. Yeah.
And the lowest I got was I dead ass went to bed one night and I set my alarm for 9 minutes. And and then I got up and I continued with the rest of my day. And I did that for a couple days until my body literally started to shut down.
Yeah. No, it'll do that to you.
Yeah. No, it's funny. Like, what is it? It's like the longest anyone has ever gone without sleep is like 14 days or something like that, which is a ridiculously short time. Like, if you think about it, it's like 14 days, like a lot can happen, but at the same time, like, we can go 30 days without food or water. Well, water's less, but it's like 30 days without food. And it's like, and the fact that you can not even go half that without sleep is incredible. So sleep. You don't do your best work when you're not well rested. If you are genuinely well rested after like a lower amount of sleep, okay, but really take care of yourself.
Yeah, me and my brother have this like theory about each other because like I can sleep anywhere, but I need to like get like a full night's sleep to like function well. Whereas he doesn't sleep very much, but he really struggles to sleep. And so it's like, oh, like I've adapted in this like minor way to where it's like, oh, I can like curl up upside down on a bus and be fine. Whereas he like needs to be in this perfect scenario for sleep. And because his body knows it needs that perfect scenario, he'll risk only having 3 hours of sleep.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, that is super interesting too. I'm kind of a mix of that because, well, not kind of. So if I push myself a little bit further than I need to, then so say if I was like, oh, I got 4 hours of sleep the night before, generally fine. But if I do that, like push that a little bit too far, so say I get like 3 hours of sleep the next night, that night following, I can just fall asleep whenever I want. It's just I am forcing myself to stay awake, and it's funny to be around people when I'm hanging out with them, and I'm just like, hey, I'm tired, I'm gonna go to sleep. Like we're watching a movie or something. You can leave if you want. There's a couch or whatever, but I'm gonna go to sleep in about 5 minutes. And they're like, whatever. And then I'll just be sitting there, and then I'm just like, and done. It's like I just power down because I have nothing else to do, which is both good and kind of scary.
Yeah, that's understandable.
But yeah, no, like sleep is essential, which is shitty because I really wish I didn't have to.
Yeah, for sure. One of my questions on here is like, what do you think the most challenging job would be? Like, what's the most challenging job you think of? And like for me, I felt like a lot of that had to do with like jobs where like they required you for long stints. Like the surgeons who like do like these like 12, 13-hour surgeries where they have to be perfectly focused. And it's like, wow, that would be insane to like just like tell your body like I am in control. You can have it back in 48 hours or something like that.
Yeah, that is really intense. I hadn't even thought about that. But yeah, no, I've seen like the pictures of people after those surgeries where it's like these guys just performed surgery for 14 hours straight. And like they're in their scrubs and everything still, like they've taken off their gloves and their masks are now around their neck, but they're just on the floor out.
Yeah, their nurse is like weeping in the corner, like just,
like, crying,
exhausted.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine being that alert for that long, because yeah, that's like that's so much pressure too. That's another person's life in your hands, and there's so
Mhm.
many things that can go wrong. You have to focus on everything. So that might be up there.
Mhm.
If I were to say the challenging job that, like, just change it around a little bit, since we've already, answered that question, obviously. I'm sure there's other more challenging jobs if you think there's something else that you guys want.
Yeah, it
comment
just
down
kind
below.
of depends what you value in that
Mhm.
scenario.
And in that case, I guess it'd be sleeping stroll. But I think the most challenging job that I could probably do is to actually become a director and
Mhm.
then direct more than one movie at a time.
Yeah, that would take a lot of dedication.
From what I hear, well, actually, I can't even attest to that because, like, I haven't even directed one full length
Mhm.
movie yet. So from what I hear, that's really fucking intense. Like, if you like have a budget, there's directors that I've followed and like uh read all their writings and like seen their masterclass and stuff. Them talking about them directing every time is crazy
Mhm.
because they're like, yeah, no, I just don't eat, is what one of them said. It's like, I cannot eat before noon because if I do, I will throw up. And it's like the stress of knowing that he has to go out there and talk to like 160 people, and every single word he says has to be gospel. Like, what he says has to be absolutely correct every single time. That stress and that pressure keeps him from being able to eat, and like he'll just like throw up just because like he'll be like, yeah, just do that and make sure you have the gaffing here, and I want the lighting to look like this. I'll be right back, and he just goes vomits and comes back.
Wow.
Like, that's, to me, like, the amount of pressure you're putting on your body at that point is crazy.
Yeah, I fully understand that. I was also thinking like an actor, like
Mhm.
whereas they don't have quite the time, what's consumption that a
Mhm.
director would have, but they have to like invest themselves emotionally fully
Mhm.
along with the time and along with the extra work and the memorization that comes with like
Mhm.
mental stress. Yeah, I just feel like that could like really tear at you too.
Yeah,
and
no.
obviously it has because people have like committed suicides
Oh
after
yeah,
roles. And,
like, and it depends on your acting styles. Method acting is not something that anybody should do. That being said, some method actors are fucking phenomenal.
oh yeah,
But
it reaps results.
yeah, it reaps results, but the cost is
Mm-hmm.
for the art or for your health. You gotta weigh those things out. And working with actors is really interesting too, because I read this story one time where this actress had been trying like for 2 or 3 hours to get herself into this space. And then she finally got herself in like the mindset of this character and like was like perfect. And then I think it was like the AD or something was like, hey, we don't have another SD card, or we don't have another card to write to.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like they were shooting on a rooftop, and they were like 13 floors up or something, and there wasn't an elevator in this building that they were at, and so they're just like, go run and get it. And so they like took her and just put her in a dark room like by herself. It was like, nobody talked to her, nobody text her, everybody put your phones away, we can have no outside distractions. She is finally in this like special place. That way, as soon as the guy got back, they shoved it in the camera, they go, and then they didn't even yeah, I'm really testing out the shock mounts today. I want to say they like put her at her Q spot, like at the top, and they didn't even like tell her. They just said action, and they went, and I believe that's the take they used.
Wow.
But it's just like so intense to like that level of acting. I've always envied.
And it puts stress on everyone. It's not just like your mental state is revolving around this. It's everyone's because they have to adjust to you.
Oh yeah, and like the pressure of knowing that it's like, if I fuck this up, I'm not just letting down the director or the assistant director, I'm letting down, all 15 people on set right now.
And then they'll have to do another cut. And especially if it's a long scene, then all these other actors who did it just right, and you got frustrated and stopped halfway through.
Yeah, and time is such a huge deal on set. Like, I didn't think about this until I actually got to film school, but you are allocated very specific increments of time. Like, it's not just like, all right, we're going to do 57 takes of this. We're like, because everyone kind of thinks about that a little bit, I feel like. It's like, oh, wow, they did this in like so many takes or whatever. It's like, that's not a good thing when they do that. Sometimes it's necessary. Sometimes there's things that, are just completely out of control that you can't handle. But like the AD, the assistant director, their job on set is mostly to play timekeeper. And so the producer and the director have worked out a schedule to shoot in, and sometimes it's like you have 1 hour to get this scene, or you have 20 minutes to get this scene, and then the AD's job is to be like, all right, we have time for one more, and that's it. If we don't get it, then we don't get it.
We use a different cut, we edit it out, or whatever we have to
somehow fix it. It's like, you don't have time because you're renting all of this equipment. Like, no one owns all of the equipment for a movie. Like, that'd be
insane.
Yeah, it'd be nuts. And so, yeah, you're renting all this equipment. It's rented by the hour sometimes.
You're paying the people by the hour.
You're paying it's when you start breaking it down like that, people wonder why it takes,
$300 million.
Yeah, $300 million to make a movie. But it's like, just the shoot days. Like, they're like, oh yeah, we shot this in like, it was a 60-day shoot, or it was a 35-day shoot. And they're like, took them 35 days to make that. They spent $300 million. Like, no. They spent $300 million on that, and post-production, and pre-production, and buying the script, paying, all of the actors, all the extras, paying, 30 plus people, sometimes more. I mean, I guess you include the staff that does like craft services. You're paying for craft services every day. You're paying because you have to feed these people. You're paying for porta potties. You're paying for trailers. You're paying for electricity. You're paying for. There's so much that it just adds up quick. It's like the worst possible scenario. I thought my electric bill was expensive when my roommate left his window open for a month. It's like, no, this is like not having any windows and just having a heater running constantly in the tundra.
Oh, for sure.
And then you throw it at a wall and hope that it still works, and then it makes that money back.
Wow.
And sometimes it doesn't.
No, for sure.
But
and
anyway.
People lose careers over that stuff.
And so it's stressful. So that would, to me, be one of the most challenging, is being a director or being an actor in that scenario.
That's crazy. What do we got next? We got time for another one before our mid-roll.
So I was trying not to slurp in the microphones this time, but then I was like, I have to do something.
So, do you prefer to hang around people who constantly challenge you, or people who kind of let you do your own thing?
Ooh, so this is a fun one. So I like to date people who challenge me constantly, because I think that's sexy.
That sounds dangerous. I feel like that's asking for trouble.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it is.
Ooh,
yeah.
Dude, I love playing with some fire. You know what I'm saying? No, in a relationship, I want to be challenged intellectually a lot, but I don't want to lose. Is the thing. So it is very dangerous, because a lot of people are smarter than me.
I was about to say, you like to start intellectual battles, but you are not known for your intellect. You are smart and you are capable, but you are not book smart.
Yeah,
all the time.
I mean, you say I'm not known. I'm not known by you, because I argue with you, and then I'm like, oh yeah, that's fair. Well, most of the time I'm not. Oh yeah, that's fair. I'm like, well, whatever.
But I'll be like, dang, he has a nice vocabulary.
Yeah, no,
talk circles around me.
I don't anymore. I lost it all. I
lost
came
all
to
the
college,
words.
and then I was just like, you know what? You know that thesaurus I shoved in my brain? I'm just gonna knock that shit out of there. I smoked a little bit too much weed my freshman year.
Whoops.
It's a joke. This is a character. No, I didn't smoke. Nobody turned me in for smoking the ganja.
That was the Joey, not Jose. I swear.
That was the Joey. This is Jose coming out. All right. I'm not just going back to the Joey character. I smoked so much weed my freshman year. I just lost all my vocabulary. But no, in relationships, it is, in my opinion, the more you're challenged, the more you guys are forced to overcome together. It's like writing a good story. You never want to see someone who's already got it made make it more and win. It's oh, well, of course, you had it stacked for him. You want to see the peasant boy grow up and be king and find out he's king and pull the sword out of the stone, that kind of stuff. And so it's I view relationships very much the same way, where it's if it starts out amazing and only just moves in a plateau, that's not great.
Which we talked about earlier, where you always want to be growing.
Well, then see this. I'll touch on that here in a minute. Yeah. But No, so that's not saying that you shouldn't start out a relationship great, because most relationships do start out great. Like that first like month or two is like bliss. It's just like you guys are holding each other's hands, you're cuddling, sometimes lots of sex. But like, you know, it's amazing. But if after that there's no click, it's usually, to me, because this person, I can't carry a conversation with them. Whereas like with my best friends, I'm always like, hey, let's talk about this topic, or what do you think would happen if, or something like just about dumb shit. It doesn't even have to be about anything smart.
But the conversation will start rolling. And
Exactly.
it just works out for certain people. That's interesting.
And if it doesn't work out for them, like if they can't keep that conversation rolling, then it's like, oh, well, I've lost my spark with you. It's like, okay, well, you know, this was a fun, you know, thing, but now no more. But touching back onto, before we have to pause for mid-roll, touching back onto the constantly wanting to improve thing, that puts a whole lot of strain on relationships, because I've found oftentimes there are people who don't have that mindset, and which is fine. Like, I think if you're, because I let me just start over there. So I'm constantly pushing myself, both intellectually, ability wise, and physically, to like improve. Like, you know this, like today I surprised you by being like, hey, we ran a mile straight just now, let's run another lap, just like, why not? And
I loved you at that moment. I was so happy.
Yeah, I'm sure you did. I'm sure you were nothing but pleased. Just imagine if you were someone who slept with me at that point too. I imagine you would no longer.
I did have to come home with you.
It's true. Like, yeah, that becomes a lot more troublesome if they're like, oh, well, I'm happy with how I am. It's like, but let's like improve together. Like, let's like go rock climbing or hiking, or, you know, lifting, and let's do more together, because I always want to improve with someone else. It's not that I necessarily have to do it with someone else, because I can do it alone by myself just as easy. There's something about seeing the spark in someone's eyes when they realize, is like, oh, hey, I can do this, or like, you know, that I love inspiring that and seeing that.
Yeah, it's not about having someone to do it with you. It's about you seeing them succeed too.
Exactly.
It's that empathy,
which is weird, you know. Yeah, that empathy for someone who feels nothing.
The emotions are coming out. It's wonderful.
Yeah. But we are coming up on our mid-roll here.
Wonderful. So we're gonna pause for a quick ad break, and then we'll be right back with some more asking of questions. And we're back. Oh, okay. Oh, wait, we got to do stuff now. I can't just intro and then just stop at nothing.
No, I'm waiting for you to intro your thing.
Uh-oh. So, right now, what do you think one of your biggest challenges is?
Quitting Red Bull.
Yeah? Are you actually going to start?
No.
I didn't think so. I was like, is that actually something you're working towards?
No, it's not something I'm working towards right now. Especially not with our new schedule and everything that we're working on. I won't be giving up Red Bull for quite a while.
And if you do, it'll be for coffee.
Yeah, no, I mean, right now I'm on a steady, like, coffee in the morning, Red Bull at night. But if I don't want as much sugar, then I do my coffee at night too. You did point out yesterday that I drink too much coffee, and which is true. And so I was like, oh, well, I should probably cut back a little bit. And so tonight I had a Red Bull. But it's mixed with lemonade, which it doesn't make it better.
Adds more things to it.
I just thought I'd point out that it's like a Red Bull screwdriver.
Fair enough.
It's a Commons head.
It's a what do I call it? Flathead. Oh,
Flathead.
Yeah. Okay. So we were talking earlier that challenges can like improve a person's character and like just help them grow in general. But like, do you think that's always the case, or are there situations where you can like break a person?
No, I think you can definitely break people. I think I have broken people just because.
No.
And it sucks because it's usually like working out or like asking too much of them while like working with them. So I've had experiences. My first job where I was a manager was at Sonic, and well, officially a manager. But no, I had asked too much of this person, so they just kind of like broke down and like started crying, and I felt really bad because in my head I'm just like, oh yeah, we just got to get this done, our numbers are high, all this, you know, you get in this manager mindset, which wow, the sugars, they really help, which when you're working at fast food, you should never put the company before you. I'd actually argue you shouldn't do that most places because they don't care.
No.
Like Sonic as a corporation or as a franchise does not give a shit about me or my numbers or my people. And so there's no reason that you should ever put them first if you are in that kind of situation or working with them. But no, at this point I was just like, oh, our numbers are high. You want to. The owner would call us nightly. The owner of the store that I worked at would call us every single night, multiple times a day sometimes, just because he could see the numbers of how we were doing on his phone, and then he'd call and be like, why are they so high? You should do this, you push harder, and like that kind of stuff. And so I got into this habit of pushing people much harder than I should have. After that, I had a nice long look at my reflection. I was just like, yeah, no. And so
you think that changed your leadership style from there?
Yeah. It kind of turned more into give a job, take a job. So basically it was like, oh, hey, I need you to wipe off all the trays or something. If you wipe off all the trays, I'll clean the ice cream machine. And then after that, it would like usually end up like, okay, you do that, I'll do this. But then I'd also end up helping them do other things, because by that point I was so efficient at doing all the other jobs and stuff. I was like, yeah, whatever, I'll like hop in. And so I think, I don't know, I didn't necessarily try to be friends with my coworkers, because that's something that's, as a boss, impossible. We kind of talked about that with being friends with your parents. It's possible, just not actually practical.
Yeah, and it's usually not profitable in whatever
and
sense.
So like I was just like, all right, listen, I will be your boss at work for the people who I was friends with outside of that. It's like, at work, I'm your boss. You can't take this personally, but I'm gonna tell you to do shit.
That doesn't always work out though, does it?
No, it doesn't. So some people got very upset with me, but I was like, hey, listen, I'm 100% your friend outside of this. But I have to do my job, otherwise I lose it. So
fair enough.
It's like, and you have to do your job, otherwise I have to report you. Which some people would call me like a shitty friend for that.
That's shady. Yeah.
Yeah, but do your fucking job. Don't be So here's the thing. In that particular scenario, you are not doing your job, and therefore I have to work harder. And not only do I have to work harder, other people around you have to work harder to make up for the slack that you're not pulling. And so the way I looked at it was, well, you're kind of being an asshole because you're affecting the people around you without, like, you're not taking any regard for other people.
Yeah, and in fast food, you can't slow down either. You're serving the people or you're not.
Yeah, and it's shitty. It sucks. Working fast food is absolutely terrible. But no, I would try and pull up the extra slack whenever I could, but then it's like, I wasn't gonna cover for you. It's like, I have no reason to. Other than the fact that it's like, you're my friend, and most of these people were like that first level of friends that we talked about, where it's like
you work friends, acquaintances.
Yeah, like they're like, okay, these are people who I like. I'll hang out with them after work sometimes, but it's not like like people who hang out every day. It's not like I was working with you. So yeah, it's just like, all right, well, sorry, buddy.
Yeah, and I definitely understand, because when I was working at Dillard's, I was on the dock, which time isn't quite as much as like a limited resource, but working with like, especially like older people, you realize they just can't do as much, and it gets really frustrating. Even though I wasn't in a leadership position, there was only one leadership person, and he would be off on weekends, so that would just kind of like leave someone to take it, and naturally that was me, and it gets really frustrating. Naturally. Guys, I host the podcast.
Is that what you tell them, like, right before you fired them? Just, like, unofficially?
Yeah.
You're just like, get out of my face.
You're dead to me.
And they're like, under what authority? You're like, I host a podcast. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. So it was really frustrating at first, because I didn't understand how to deal with that. I was like, I'm working so hard. I'm getting all this stuff done. What are you doing? And they're like, obviously what I can. I wouldn't like say this to them. I would just like be in pain when I try to go to bed, and I'd be like, why didn't they do as much? Yeah. And so that's something where you just really got to like realize that, like, don't put the company first, put yourself first, and just delegate, give them jobs that they can handle, and then just work from there. And so don't expect too much of people, because then they'll push back and they don't like that challenge.
Yeah. I was gonna say, that's a pretty big challenge in itself.
Ooh.
It's just like learning to be in a leadership role. I typically like it to be in a leadership position. I think we talked about that before. I'm a bit of a control freak sometimes. I'm working on it. But do you find yourself to be like the same kind of way at all?
No. I love to be a trusted number two.
Okay.
That is my like dream position, where there's someone who will take the flak, will take the responsibility,
Mm-hmm.
and I trust and I like them.
Mm-hmm.
And then like if they're gone, then other people understand the authority does not run through me; it runs through them to me. And so
Okay.
I don't like having all that like weight on me.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm not charismatic enough to be like, yeah, guys, like work for me because you like me or whatever like you need to use.
I gotcha.
And so I like having someone else to be like the pillar of light, and then I'm just like, let's support him, let's work together
Okay.
to get this going.
Like very much a Jesus to the apostle.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. Well, that's interesting. Learn more every day.
For sure. Let's see, what do we got next? What I had one I liked. Oh, do you think were you gonna say something?
No, I was gonna whisper to the editor.
Oh, do you think living in the present is more or less challenging than living in the past? Oh.
I think it's all right. Let me rephrase that. As I think I think dealing with the past can be more of a challenge than living in the past.
Yeah, I feel like there's two different ways you could really look at that question. You can live in the past, and that's like people who like live in like their high school glory years, and then you can also like just stay in the present so much that you're not thinking about the past and you're avoiding the past. So.
Yeah. See, like, so my issue, because I actually struggle with this, I struggle with like dealing with my past and things that I've done, and like in relationships and stuff, and like, you know, it's not saying that I'm like, oh no, I did like terrible things. It's like I never did anything like outlandishly horrible or like anything like that. Objectively, some things could be viewed as morally what's the D word?
Morally
devoid. There we go.
Okay.
Something like that. They were devoid of moral or ethics. But you know, it at the time it was like, okay, what I'm talking about is hookups.
Okay.
Specifically. So because I realized once I started that, it sounds like I was like murdering people. I was like, oh, I didn't murder people, all right?
It's okay. They all think I'm the murderer in the relationship.
It's true.
Anyways,
You just give them that like that Dexter look, and people, I am both ovulating and somehow like just, you know, oof.
I'm gonna die, but I'm gonna die happy.
Yeah, I'm gonna come when you stab me. I'm sorry. I try and keep this more clean on your podcast. I'm sorry. No, so I've done things like that and like ended relationships wrong and like all that kind of stuff, and I deal with that a lot. Where it's almost like I have PTSD from like my past, where every now and then I just get caught up. You know how you like stare off into space and you just kind of blank out for a second, just kind of in those moments, it's like I relive little moments in my past sometimes.
For sure.
And so I snap myself out of it, because usually it's me reliving a moment where I did something really stupid, or like I you know, it usually was something stupid or like super embarrassing. And so like I snap myself out of it with, oftentimes I like do it like a jolt, and I'm like, like it causes me not quite physical pain, but almost. And so that's the thing I deal with. Like I live very much in the present. I look forward a lot. I'm a planner, which, you know, you've seen our Google Calendar.
Yeah.
I plan every single little moment that I can. And yeah, so I like to look forward, but I find myself struggling to deal with my past. And that's a huge challenge in my life. Now, a bigger challenge, I think, would be like living in the past while trying to deal with the future. I don't think that is a path that leads you to the success in any way.
No.
Now, what I'm doing, it's possible to reach success. It's just I have to.
You're just throwing your own barriers in the way.
Yeah, it's just like I'm dealing with myself, which I can do. I can take those emotions and push them way, way down. That's totally fine. It's the John Mulaney joke. It's just like the way I do.
One day I'll bottle it up, and then one day I'll die.
Yep, there you go. And that's how I deal with those kind of things. Which is not healthy, you know. Someday maybe I'll be able to afford a therapist with all this humorish money.
Yeah, man, they'll give you a whole 3-minute session with all of our money.
With all of I don't even think that at this point. Dude. Like we haven't even broken $1. But that's okay. We do this because it's fun, not because it's for money.
Definitely.
But no, yeah, that would definitely be a huge challenge. And anyone who is dealing with that kind of stuff, seek help.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially if you're younger, you're on your parents' insurance. So,
Mm.
hey, do that. Also, get your tonsils out. Fun advice. Those bad boys stick with you for life if you don't, and then eventually they'll try and kill you. Yep.
I feel like that's just a you problem. That's you living in the past again.
That's me living in the now. Because my tonsils are trying to kill me right now. I don't think you understand.
I don't. I really don't.
But
this dude gets strep like 12 times a year.
Pretty great.
It's lovely.
No, it's awesome because I also don't have insurance. So like, so one, even if I wanted to get them taken out, I couldn't. And then two, it's just like a sweet $80 I pay every 2 months, where it's just like, hey, give me a Z-Pack and some antibiotics that my body's gonna get immune to, and so I'm gonna get strep again, and then it's gonna be super strep, and then I'll die.
Then you have to get a new kind of antibiotic.
Yeah, it's like, just fucking chop my throat out of my body, please. Just get rid of it.
I like challenge, but when my body throws it at me,
no, yeah,
that's when it sucks.
Okay, so I love overcoming physical challenges. I hate that I get sick so much. That is like one challenge like I can do literally nothing about, and that's really frustrating.
Yeah, that's the kind of challenge that you just have to like sit and wait out, which is super frustrating.
I guess like on that note, not to take it to too much of a dark place. So I started talking to someone recently who is incredibly strong in my eyes. Like, they developed fibromyalgia and
can you get a brief explanation what that is?
Fibromyalgia, I believe, is just like misfiring of your neurons in
like pain receptors.
Yeah, your pain receptors and stuff. And so you can just like at any moment be in excruciating pain for no reason.
Okay.
Which is god awful. Like, I couldn't even imagine. And then I believe it also makes you more sensitive to things. So certain things, like just like a bump on a desk or something, could hurt like you just stub your toe like incredibly hard. I believe. Don't necessarily quote me on that. They also have another disorder, but it developed later in their life. It developed like by the time they were 18 or something. I say later in their life, but it's like later in their youth, I suppose. So it's like they had gone through like high school and they got to experience all of these, wonderful sensations of living life, and then all the
doors are opening.
Yeah, it's like you get to go to college now if you want, and then just like immediately just like shut down. Wow. And it's like it's devastating. Like, I couldn't even imagine. Like, and that's like, to me it's almost the same as getting diagnosed with cancer, because like for fibromyalgia and I wish I could remember the name of this other disorder. I don't even remember what it actually ends up doing, but it makes you sick. It, as far as I know, it
like lupus kind of.
Yeah, something. Your body kind of turns against itself a little bit, but it's not the same as that. So they've dealt with all of this crazy stuff. It's like that kind of challenge to me is the scariest, because there's no escape. You can not cure it. You can only treat it. So basically, her body just turns against her, and like those challenges to me are the most terrifying.
Yeah, I have a question on here. It's like, what would be a challenge you'd never want to face? And you think chronic disease is up at the top of the list?
Yeah, no, like, I'm so grateful for the fact that, like, my body, as shitty as it is sometimes, like, when I get strep, I, don't have perfect vision. My nose makes it hard to breathe, which I actually learned recently could also be part of my tonsils. My tonsils are
really
enormous. And so something I was reading said that they can affect you and actually force you to become a mouth breather because you have no choice. Your nose doesn't work as well. And so I was like, oh, nice. But no, like that kind of thing. Sorry, and just kind of like to wrap like a bow up on that story. She's overcoming it like bit by bit. At first it was excruciating, but now I think she's like 20, 21 or something like that. And she's actually, getting out and hoping to start working full time again. And like just the idea, it's like, I hope that my body lets me work full time. I hope that I can be allowed to work in my own skin. And that's crazy. But no, chronic disease and all that is a challenge that terrifies me, honestly.
Yeah, and especially like a disease that may not affect you as much. Like, let's say like paralyzation, where it doesn't necessarily affect you as much in your daily life. You can adjust and adapt, but like then the world gives you a stigma, and you can't control that because other people just think whatever the media gives them or things like that.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, that's another thing. It's like, and I know a lot of people who are in wheelchairs or like paralyzed from the waist down. I will disagree with you. I think it does change your life dramatically
For sure.
for one.
But I mean, it's a challenge that no matter how much you overcome it, there's still other people like have a say in what it.
Yeah, you still have to overcome other things. Where, yeah, people who pity you or just look down on you. It's like I couldn't. I don't think I could ever like.
Yeah, and you can't explain that to every stranger that walks by and just gives you this like off look, or every job interview where they're like, "Should I hire you?" Like things like that.
No, I feel extremely blessed though to have been exposed to people with disabilities, people who have who have paralysis at various states, or who are on the spectrum, or anything like that. I think it's given me a really broad view of people and how these are just human beings. I think that's part of where I get my overwhelming acceptance of all people, like regardless of your culture, your color, your skin, who you are, like what your gender identification is, like no matter what your like level of intelligence or anything like that. I'm generally, and I think we talked about this once, where I am a person who trusts you fully until you prove you're not worthy of being trusted, whereas you go the opposite, where you don't trust someone until they prove they can be trusted. And so I think where I get that is just like I was exposed to that kind of stuff. And so even though I grew up in a very conservative, very shitty small town where things like that generally aren't, accepted, I think I came out for the better because of that. And yeah, no, I feel for people who are like that, but I think the only way to fight it is to spread awareness, really, and to just kind of be like, hey, I mean, they are disabled. Yeah, they can't use their legs, but that doesn't make them any less of a person. That doesn't mean that they can't still contribute to society. That doesn't mean that they are someone who you should pity or look down on, because they are incredibly strong in their own right.
Definitely.
In a lot of ways, stronger than like people who can use their legs, or people who do have both of their arms. Or
and people who have functioned for this for 15 years, so clearly they know what they're doing. Exactly. And they know how to handle it.
So, but both mentally and physically.
For sure. So as a wrap up, you think the challenges in your life that you have had to face have improved you overall as a person?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that's where I get my need for challenges though. Because I grew up in a very negative reinforcing household, which isn't my personal preference of how you should do things. This whole podcast could be summed up with don't do what Joey does. it's like don't be a Joey. So yeah, like there was a lot of negative reinforcement, and that sucks. Like I spent a lot of my early teens like super depressed, but having overcome those challenges, let me just rephrase, having fought those challenges, battled them, and come out at least breaking even. Yeah. It has made me a better person. Working in working in the service industry, dealing with my own like mental illnesses and all that. It has all made me more considerate. It's made me more understanding. I think that it's given me this crazy weird drive to succeed and continue to overcome things, but it also makes me want to reach out and help people who are struggling with them, which is part of the like improving and pushing to improve and pushing others to improve. I just want to see people get better. So I know that sounds kind of lame, whatever. Sorry, the Joey's coming back now.
Sorry, I'm a poster. Yeah. Sorry, I have feelings and sentiment and stuff.
Yeah, I'm sorry that I'm a human being who cares about other people. I know that's not typically macho or cool or whatever. Turn my hat sideways just so I can, talk to the youth of the nation.
No, but yeah, seriously, thanks to everyone who's watching, and thanks for having this conversation with me, opening yourself up a little bit.
That's been fun. I opened up myself a lot more than I actually thought I would on this episode. We're supposed to do a show and be entertaining. You didn't tell me I was going to talk about
You can't have feelings.
my feelings and stuff.
No. But no, yeah, I really appreciate it, and I hope that we can inspire people who are facing challenges right now, and like this new year coming up, that like maybe we can inspire people to like face these challenges that they're coming up against. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed the show. And if you want to give us some topics and talk to us about these things, follow us at Twitter at humorish_TM and use the hashtag NoahAsked to talk about us. And we will hear that. We will see that. We look at that. So we would love to be, too much. So we would love to communicate with you guys. You can also email topic suggestions at humorish.tm@gmail.com. And if you watch on YouTube, you get the videos a day earlier. So you can watch the video and you get
the podcast a day earlier, I guess.
The podcast, yeah. So podcasts go up anywhere you get podcasts. But if you want to watch it a day earlier, you get it on YouTube and you get a video version. So ring notification bell and subscribe there at Humorish. And we will have another podcast this week, and that is called I Don't Know Though, and it's hosted by none other than our Joey. So thanks for watching, guys, and bye.
Bye.